If you're still in the configurator app, to switch to our control app, you simply select the little arrow key down here and switch to control. If you are not in the control app, well then you simply, yet again, type in the serial number of your unit in your browser. It will ask you to log in again. And after the login, since you've been already configured, you will be met with the control app yet again. So now the first thing you want to do is create your first layout. You do this by simply clicking the little plus layout button here. This will create your first layout called new layout. You can now go ahead and rename it my layout. Now the DVW unit comes with a couple of demo sources preloaded. These sources live on the units themselves and they can be used to test and configure your first layout. So what we're going to be doing now is by simply taking one of these sources, dragging it into my canvas, sizing it up to whatever size we wish, save, and press the little play button. And that's it. It's as easy as that. We now have our first layout with our first source playing on the wall. From there we could start playing around, we could add more sources, we could reconfigure it, and that's it. We have our first layout working. Now of course, we did not buy the Mura DVW to just play around with the demo sources. So the next thing we want to do is actually adding our own sources to the wall. This is done by clicking the little plus source button. The first type of source we'll be showing you how to add is IP sources. So IP sources can be anything from different types of encoders to IP cameras, as long as they are H.264 or H.265, also called HEVC. So our first source that we'll be adding is simply a Matrix source. A Matrix is an encoder that is made by Matrox. So here, for the source name, I will call it the Matrix. This will be a RTSP stream. My host name, I will type it in here, 25, 200, 240, 53. The port, this is the port on which the RTSP stream is streaming, 3049. And finally my stream. This stream is simply the last bit of my URL. In this case it is S1. I click create, I don't have any username or password, and now my source is here. And I could take it, drag it in my layout, and it will appear on my layout. The second type of sources you might want are web sources. So the DVW comes with a browser built in, which means that you could point to any type of web source or URL, whether internal or external, and this will also be made available to put up on the wall. So the first web source we'll be putting up is a dashboard, which we have hosted internally here. So I will type dashboard. I will take the URL of the specific dashboard I want to show. I will paste it in to where it says path. I will leave the width and height as default. This is the width and height at which your web source will be rendered. The 1920 1080 is a pretty good default. You might want to bring that up to 4K if you have very, very fine details to show off on your web page. I click yet again create, and my new source just appeared. Yet again, I take it, I drag it onto my wall, and I have it appeared. This one, we will just move it around and just resize a little bit to make it bigger. Click save, and there it is on my wall, showing up my beautiful little dashboard. The last one we will create is we will create a second web source. This one will be an external web source. So we will pick a YouTube video, which we will take the URL, type it in here, click create, and now our YouTube video source is created. Yet again, drag and drop it in, and the web page will appear on my wall. Once you have many sources created, one good functionality in MuraControl is the filters. So to more easily access and find your different sources, you could use these different types of filters. So we have automatic filters, which you can use by simply clicking. So if you want to see the demo sources, you click on demo. If you want to see all your different web pages, they are here, as well as your IP sources, they will be here. And finally, added will show you the different sources that you have added in this specific layout. You could also use the search box here, which will search for specific words or keywords inside the name of the layout. So for example, if I want something that says Mavix, then I will type in Mavix and I will find all my sources that contain that word. So now that you have your sources up, you could click on them and move them around. They will naturally snap to either your monitors or your windows. So you can move them around, snap them, and then of course with the little borders that appear, you could also resize them. They will by default resize by respecting aspect ratio. You can use the shift key on your keyboard if you want to break the aspect ratio and change the sizing that way. Once you are happy, yet again, you need to click the Save button. This will apply your changes to your wall. The other thing that you can do on the canvas is change the Z order. So for example, if you have windows on top of windows, you can then decide if you want to bring them forward or backwards. This can be done through different ways. In the canvas, you simply right-click on your source, go to Z order, and you can do move down or send to back, depending which action you want to do. There is also a different way of doing Z ordering. That is by using the panel on your left. So on your left, you have your layout name and all the different types of sources that you have created. You can change Z ordering by simply dragging, dropping your sources up and down, and this will move them up and down on your canvas so that you have the correct source showing in the correct ordering. If you want to configure your sources or reconfigure your sources, you select the source you want to configure and you go into Source. Once you're in Source, you will see that you have a full screen view of your source, and on the right you have the different configuration settings. So if ever you need to change the host names, port, or anything else, this can be done here. The other thing that can be done here is you can add a text overlay. So by clicking text up here, you have a little text overlay that appears. Once that text overlay has appeared, you can do things like choose where that text overlay will appear. You can change the text to say whatever you want. Choose your font, your size, make it bigger or smaller, depending on your needs. Change the color, any color is good. And then finally, add a background fill to make that text overlay stand out a little bit more. Once you're done, click Save, and you could go back to your layouts to see what your layout now looks like. And now finally, once you're done configuring your layouts, you can simply press the Back to Layouts button to go back to your layout dashboard. From this view, you'll be able to see all the different types of layouts. Some quick filters you can also do. You can click the little favorite star that will favorite your layouts, so then you could quickly filter out the layouts you prefer and you prefer using the most. You could also use the little icon here to do a text search for the layout you want to find on your dashboard. And finally, you could also quickly apply and deactivate layouts as you need from this page as well. So this is how you use the Mura DVW with the MuraControl built-in web application. Thank you.